Safety never felt so good as your very own affordable walk-in bathtub. The Central Valley's exclusive walk-in tub dealer. An affordable walk-in bathtub allows you to enjoy bathing again without the fear of falling. Tubs come in many sizes and all can be customized to meet specific needs. Boca tubs offer the lowest step-in possible. Ella features luxury and design excellence, and independent home tubs are low noise.
Having an affordable walk-in tub has improved the ability for me to move around easier during the day, and getting in my tub at least twice a week has done wonders with my muscles.
Right now, financing is available that can make your payment as low as $150 a month. Call for details or go online, affordablewalkinbathtubs.net. Take your first step towards safety, security, and feeling better with an affordable walk-in bathtub.
I would highly recommend affordable walk-in tubs for anyone who's looking to get the quality of their life back.
Hi, I'm John Malice. Welcome to this live edition of Connect With Me on the showroom floor at Ventura TV on this Friday morning. Glad you are here. 436-ME-TV option 11. Today's program, a very interesting one. We're talking about the Child Protective Act that was enacted in Sacramento, signed by the governor last August. We'll talk about what that law does to protect children in the courtroom. Back with your phone calls and our guest in just a moment. And we're back here on a Friday morning on Connect With Me on the showroom floor at Ventura TV. It's Connect With Me on Me TV Fresno, of course. And I'm glad you're here on a Friday morning. A couple of quick programming notes. Of course, on Monday is going to be a tape program. We're going to tape a show later today with John Gibson. He works for Fox News Radio. We'll get his take on the debates that took place the last couple of nights with both Democrats and Republicans. Specifically, that debate last night. It was calm. It was civil. They talked about the issues, and by the way, Ben Carson endorsing Donald Trump. That's huge news, and it was all over cable news and also the networks today. So once again, Donald Trump stealing the headlines. He has two major endorsements now, one from Chris Christie and one from Ben Carson. So we'll talk about that with John Gibson. That'll be a tape program coming your way on Monday. Now, let me tell you a little bit about the mayoral debate yesterday. Well, I want to talk about that for a few minutes before we get into the monologue. It took place yesterday at Pardini's over on Shaw Avenue in Fresno. So you had 8 spees on the stage, you had Henry Perea, and then you had Lee Brand. But Doug Vaughan was left out of that debate, even though he filed his papers. Some say he should have filed them earlier, but you know, Doug probably should have been included in that debate. His voice needs to be heard if he is in fact a legitimate mayoral candidate. And it was pretty drab. The questions were kind of boring. George Hofstetter, formerly of the Fresno Me, now with the CV Observer, was one of the questionnaires. He did a good job. But I got to ask you, why was Darius Assemi asking questions? This guy has a vested interest. He's looking to line his pockets. He's a developer, and he's up there asking questions of these mayoral candidates, the ones who want to become mayor. He's questioning them. What can you do for me? Well, he's a developer, and he probably should not have been on the panel asking questions. They should have had legitimate journalists like George Hofstetter. And I talked to Darius Assemi just for a few minutes. I asked him why he doesn't want to come on this program. And so, you know, I don't know if he was blowing me off or not, but he went over to one of his assistants, gave her my business card, and said he wanted to tape a show in his office. I said, no, we don't tape shows on the road. Our show is here in the studio. If you want to come in and be a guest, live at 10 o'clock to 11. He promised that he would talk to me about it next week. We'll see if Darius Assemi, the developer, the big-time developer with influence here in the city of Fresno, lives up to his promise, or in fact, if he was in fact blowing me off yesterday afternoon. Okay, time to get to our main program today. You're watching us live on Comcast, channel 375 as usual. And my friends, I think you already know by now, if you don't have Comcast cable, you don't have to sweat it. You don't have to worry. You can watch us 13.6, 43.6, and 13.1 over-the-air broadcast with a digital antenna. And then later in the day, if you can't catch the entire broadcast here on Connect with Me between 10 and 11 o'clock in the morning, you can catch us live or on tape at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 13.6 YouTube, 8 o'clock tonight, 4.6 Biz TV. And then we're 24 hours a day on YouTube. Catch our YouTube channel. You can watch any show that you want to dating back to 2012. That's like 4 years worth of shows. All right, to the main topic of today's program. It's a law that's been on the books for a little bit less than a year, but the impact is going to be felt by millions across the state of California for generations to come. It's the so-called Sadie's Law, or the Child Witness Protection Act, and it goes a long way in trying to protect children once they have to go to court or are in the courtroom and facing the accused. I want to put a picture up on the screen, my friends, because this is very important. This is Dustin Bays, sentenced to 12 years in prison for a violent crime that took place in front of the victim's children. Bays took a guitar owned by Jody Ketcheside and crushed it over his head, killing him right in front of his own 2 daughters, ages 6 and 8. Now, change the photo. This is Jody Ketcheside. During the trial last year, the court was trying to force those 2 girls to testify in front of the accused, but their mother, Jody Ketcheside, said no, but later accepted a plea bargain that kept her 2 kids out of court. Last August, Governor Jerry Brown signed into law the Child Witness Protection Act, and it allows children under the age of 13 to testify by closed-circuit TV, so they don't have to come face-to-face with someone who is accused of a horrible crime. Both Jody and others testified in Sacramento last year as to why this law needed to be signed by Governor Brown.
This is number 5, SB 176.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you SB 176, a bill which will help protect minor witnesses of a crime from being re-victimized during a criminal proceeding. Under current law, a minor victim of a violent or sex crime can testify via closed-circuit television. This allows the minor victim to testify without being subjected to being in the same room as the accused perpetrator, a person who may have caused physical or mental distress to that minor. This bill would expand upon that law by protecting minor witnesses of a violent or sex crime, allowing them to testify via closed-circuit television with the judge's permission. This legislation was inspired by a court case from Fresno where a child of a father who was murdered in front of her was forced to take the witness stand face-to-face against the man who murdered her father. Opposition has expressed concern that expanding current code to allow for minor witnesses as well impinges on a defendant's right to confrontation and will make it impossible to adequately represent a defendant with child witnesses. According to the committee analysis, one trial court has already used this model, and an appellate court upheld their decision to do so. Closed-circuit television does still allow for a minor witness to be questioned and cross-examined. We believe a courtroom should not be the place where a child is forced to face a defendant for which the child was a witness to a violent or sexual offense of the accused, solely to draw an emotional reaction from the child to play to the jury. With me today is Melina Blake.
Live in our studio right now is Jody Ketcheside, whose husband was in fact murdered in front of their own 2 children, the young girls, 6 and 8 at the time. And she is here to talk about this law that went into effect last year. It is now on the books. Jerry Brown signed it. And so if you have a child that witnessed a horrible crime, there are ways that they don't have to testify in front of the accused. We'll talk about this and much more. 436 Me TV option 11. Back with our program here on Connect with Me in just a moment.
When you're looking for Whirlpool innovation and quality, who has the answers, the selection, the price? Ventura TV Appliance. With billions in nationwide appliance buying power, more than Home Depot and Best Buy combined, will help you save. Our low prices on Energy Star qualified Whirlpool appliances save you energy and money and pay no interest on select models when paid in full within 12 months. Ventura TV Appliance, serving you since 1951.
Frigidaire. We introduced the first home freezer, the first pulsator agitator washer, and now we introduce the Frigidaire Orbit Clean dishwasher, designed with a unique wash arm that gives you 4 times more water coverage for a consistently better clean. Frigidaire, over 90 years of legendary innovation.
See the full line of Frigidaire appliances at Ventura TV Electronics and Appliances.
Back here on the program, talking about this new law that went into effect. It's less than a year old, and Jody Ketcheside is here. Good to see you again. How are you? Good morning.
Good, thank you.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about this law and some of the trauma that you went through during the trial, because this was a horrible crime, and you know, I know your ex-husband was killed, but somebody slamming him over the head with a guitar, his own guitar, as a matter of fact, and so. What kind of trauma did you go through? Did your kids go through? And why is this law so important?
Well, my daughters were identified as what are called ear witnesses. They didn't actually see anything. They heard everything and saw some things leading up to what happened that caused the prosecution to identify them as witnesses. My oldest daughter, I was able to keep her from being pursued as a witness. My youngest daughter saw and heard more, and so I wasn't successful in that. During the course of this, I asked for some concessions. I asked for things like a partition so she wouldn't have to face the guy who did it, because this was a friend of her dad. She knew him. And I asked for him to be removed from the courtroom. All of these things came up, and every time I asked, it was, well, he has a right to face his accuser. Even if she was only 7. So I refused to let her testify, and I was told that if I refused to let her testify and if I didn't deliver her, if she was subpoenaed, then I would be taken into custody. I would be arrested until she was done testifying. And I was prepared to put that on the line, and until I realized that I could lose my job, and I was the only living parent, and I was going to need to support my kids still. So I started working with Californians for Safety and Justice, and we started pursuing this legislation, and we did eventually. She was subpoenaed for the preliminary hearing, and she was not called.
But one of your, I'm confused now. One of your daughters did testify?
No,
or no?
She did not end up having to testify.
No
we took
one
a plea
testified.
Bargain. Yeah,
no
we took
one
a plea
testified at
right.
all. Okay,
Right.
I misunderstood then. Okay, go ahead.
We took a plea bargain to keep her out of the courtroom.
Right. Go ahead.
So we started pursuing this legislation, seeking an author. And initially my thought was, I was doing this to save my kid. As we got closer and the plea bargain thought was getting thrown around, and then it was more about, now I'm pursuing it looks like my kid's going to be okay. Now I'm pursuing this for everyone else, because if I had such a hard time navigating this system and trying to protect my child, then other people are experiencing this too. And, if kids are really being put in the courtroom and having to face people that have already traumatized them, it's not right. It was not the intention of that part of the Constitution to put children in a courtroom to face.
Were your kids
people.
prepared to testify if they had to?
Yes, I was. I had an investigator in my home recording my daughter's statement on one occasion. She was. She had to do a tour of the courtroom. She sat in a witness box, met a judge.
Which daughter was that? The older one?
Sadie. No, my youngest.
Okay,
Sadie.
your youngest one?
Yes.
Who was 6 at the time?
She was 6 when her dad was killed. She was 8 when we did the plea bargain. So this all took place over the course of 2 years.
It took 2 years to get to the conclusion of this trial, I guess, huh?
Yes.
2 years. And the accused, of course, in this case, ended up spending, he's going to be in prison for 12 years, Dustin Bays. And let's put his photo back up on the screen here. This was well publicized. And you did write kind of an op-ed piece, I guess, in the Fresno Bee about this. There is the accused right there sitting in court. Was he, by the way, did he show any remorse for what he did?
I couldn't really tell. I didn't feel like he was real remorseful.
Really?
I mean, he had a tissue in his hand and he wiped his eyes a few times, but it didn't, I didn't get what I needed to believe that he was truly sorry for what he had done.
What gave you that impression?
It just didn't seem real sincere to me.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it wasn't there. My emotions were high, his probably were too.
Right. And so you wrote in the Fresno Bee last year talking about the prosecutors, they wanted to put your youngest daughter on the witness stand in the courtroom, and you said in this piece, you go, I was reluctant. Having a degree in victimology, I knew the damaging psychological effects on a child who would have to face the perpetrator of the crime, face to face in court. First of all, what is a degree in victimology, and what kind of psychological effects would it have on a child, in your estimation?
I graduated from Fresno State. I have a criminology degree. Fresno State has 3 options, focus options for a criminology degree: law enforcement, forensics, and victimology. And victimology is a focus on victim services, crime victim services. So my emphasis was in victimology. And as far as psychological effects, I was already seeing the effects of the trauma on my kids.
In what way?
My oldest would run from the door when someone rang the doorbell or knocked on the door and hide. My youngest would run into the bathroom and hide in the bathtub when
somebody simply rang the doorbell. That was it.
Mm-hmm. If someone got hurt, my youngest would hide in the bathtub. She didn't, because in her mind, she was so young, if someone got hurt, they died. So they had some social stuff where if we were in crowds with a lot of people, it made them very nervous. If they were around a lot of people they didn't know. So I was already seeing some of this post-traumatic stress stuff from them. And facing him in court was only going to make that worse and bring up more of that for them. He was scary for them. And they had genuine fears up until recently, until he was sentenced, that he would come back for them.
But I mean, that wasn't going to happen.
No,
but
they're kids.
But they had a fear of that happening.
Yeah, they're kids. Kids have irrational fears. They're children. They don't understand this kind of stuff.
Did you ever sit down and talk to your kids that,
Absolutely.
no, this guy's not coming back. He's
Every
not going to
day.
harm you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here to protect you,
Mm-hmm.
and he's in jail, and he's not gonna hurt you anymore.
Yes, every day.
Okay. Talking with Jody Ketcheside, her ex-husband, of course, was murdered last year, or a couple of years ago, actually more than a year ago. The trial concluded last year, and Jody wrote an op-ed piece in the Fresno Bee. And this new act that took place that in the state legislature, that's her ex-husband right there. It was signed into law by Governor Jerry Brown. And now it says that anybody who is under the age of 13 doesn't really have to go face-to-face or head-to-head with the person who is accused of a horrible crime. There are other ways to do it, like sitting, in another room, testifying on tape, or maybe putting it on tape somewhere else, at home or wherever that little child feels comfortable. 436-ME-TV, option 11, affordable walk-in bathtubs are sponsored today on the program. Back in a moment.
Safety never felt so good as your very own affordable walk-in bathtub. The Central Valley's exclusive walk-in tub dealer. An affordable walk-in bathtub allows you to enjoy bathing again without the fear of falling. Tubs come in many sizes and all can be customized to meet specific needs. Boca tubs offer the lowest step-in possible. Ella features luxury and design excellence, and independent home tubs are low noise.
Having an affordable walk-in tub has improved the ability for me to move around easier during the day, and getting in my tub at least twice a week has done wonders with my muscles.
Right now, financing is available that can make your payment as low as $150 a month. Call for details or go online, affordablewalkinbathtubs.net. Take your first step towards safety, security, and feeling better with an affordable walk-in bathtub.
I would highly recommend affordable walk-in tubs for anyone who's looking to get the quality of their life back.
Back here on the program with Jody Ketcheside, 436-ME-TV, option 11. Let's go to a question I have as far as the accused is concerned. So let's put his photo back up. So this guy gets 12 years for murdering someone. So why only 12 years? Why didn't he get like 25 to life? He did kill someone. 12 years doesn't seem like a legitimate sentence, or justice may not have been served. I don't know. Who was the judge in the case?
He was initially charged with first-degree murder, but because of the lack of witnesses in the case and who the witnesses were, and we ended up taking a plea bargain on a voluntary manslaughter conviction.
So that's what happened.
The maximum on a voluntary manslaughter conviction is 12 years.
Is 12 years. So that's why he's not going 25 to life.
Right.
Okay. And if you could talk about a little bit, because people are going to want to know at home, they're probably watching this right now and thinking to themselves, you know, what led up to this? Why kill somebody with a guitar? Well, why kill anybody to begin with, but why with a guitar? And what led up to it?
Well, they were friends, and
So he killed his best friend?
I don't know, best friend is a stretch. Friends.
Okay.
They were friends.
All right.
My daughters had asked if they could, if him, his wife, and their daughter could have a sleepover. My girls were visiting their dad. I was working during the week. They were on spring break or summer break, and so they asked if their daughter could stay the night. So the whole family stayed the night, and apparently this guy had made some assumption that my ex-husband was sleeping with his wife, which it later came out in court was not the case. And he killed him.
He killed him over that?
Mm-hmm. So my ex-husband was asleep in his bed when he came in and hit him with his guitar.
What was the date on this?
July 25th.
July 25th, 2015?
13.
13. 13, okay.
Almost 3 years ago.
Yeah. And so what do you want people to get out of this? Not only the trial, but the law that was signed on the books by Governor Jerry Brown. What do you want people to know? And does it feel any different now that the law is passed?
Mm-hmm. You know, mostly what I want people to know is that, I mean, yes, it feels different. Like, getting all of that done, I was pushing the legislation, working with Californians for Safety and Justice, and trying to push the legislation through at the same time that I was going through the court system and going to hearings every 30 days and revisiting this hideous thing all the time. And so the legislation piece was this really positive thing that was going on in this whole other world of like all this dark stuff that was happening. So that piece was super therapeutic for me. It was, and I would encourage anybody that when you see a break in the system and you have an idea for fixing it, pursue it, because it's not only helpful for everybody else, but it'll help you too. The other thing is that when something tragic like this happens, you get stuck on this senselessness of it all. It didn't have to happen. It shouldn't have happened. For me, it was like, God, he was just asleep in his bed. I go to sleep in my bed every night. Like, someone could come in and do the same thing to me. I needed to make sense out of it. And, you know, now Dave didn't die for no reason. You know, something positive came out of this. You know, I'd rather have him here for my girls, but he didn't die for no reason. There was purpose behind this, even if we couldn't see it in the beginning. And I really just want parents to know that if you're in this situation, that you need to advocate for this for your kids to be able to access this as a right.
Caller, go ahead. You're on the air with Jody Ketcheside.
Jody, let me direct a question right to you. Are you still living in the same place everything happened? And I would say it'd be hard on the kids, trauma, for the simple reason they feel, scared and whatever. But my idea, if something happened like that to me, I would move away from there to start over for them. Because when you're growing up, it's a lot different. But when the kids have a trauma like that, they want to get away from what they saw, or they're going to be, are they going to have someone come to the door and do something to them or whatever? But I just want to direct the question: are you still living in the same place, or are you planning to move, or what? That's all I wanted to ask you, Jody.
No, we're not still in the same house. They didn't live full time in that house anyway. We were not together. We were divorced. So, they came home with me, and we've since moved. So
no trauma there. You wanted to change surroundings, obviously.
Yeah, we moved after the sentencing, so that the address wasn't. My current address isn't still floating around the courthouse.
Oh, and anybody could get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So your daughters are doing. How are they doing now?
They're doing really, really well. They're
Okay.
both 4.0 students. My oldest is for the third year in a row, the lead in the school play. My youngest is Sadie, is in the choir, and they're super well adjusted. The move was good for them. They feel safe. They're doing really well.
I do want to talk about. We got to take a break here, but I do want to talk about when we come back. The legislative process, some of the other ways that these kids can testify, because, like it or not, whether or not they're 13 or under, if something happens, the justice system really does need their testimony to a certain extent, so they can put someone away accused of a horrible crime if in fact they are guilty and they did it. Definitely. So we'll talk about some of those other ways when we come back. 436 MeTV option 11, one of the most horrific crimes that I've ever seen. I mean, it took place a few years ago, back in 2013. Vaguely remember all the publicity that surrounded the case. It was absolutely awful. So Jody is here. She did what she thought was right, trying to protect her own two little girls from the court system and coming face to face with an accused killer. Back with your phone calls and much more after this for affordable walk-in bathtubs.
Not sure what you're watching? Want to see what's coming up next? Or just want to browse what's on without the hassle of flipping channels? Your wish has come true. Now you can view schedules for all the digital TV channels available in the Central Valley. Get local weather updates and forecasts, and listen to nationally syndicated Biz Talk Radio, all on KVHF 4.1. Rescan your TV now, then tune in to digital channel 4.1 to start enjoying the all-new TV guide.
Take a look at this. Let's play.
This is too hip for you. I'll slow down.
Let's play.
Watch all your favorite classic game shows on Buzzer TV, KVBC Digital Channel 13.7.
Back here on the program with Jody Ketcheside, and her husband was murdered a couple of years back, and so Jerry Brown signs this law into place, SB 176. It's the Child Witness Protection Act. So you went to testify in Sacramento. Talk a little bit about how difficult it is not only to get, a bill recognized by state lawmakers, but to get them to take it seriously to the point where they could bring it up for debate. It goes into committee, then it comes up for debate, and then it has to be signed and it has to be voted on, then possibly signed by the governor. It's a long, lengthy, arduous process. Talk about what you went through during that time.
And maybe this bill was such a no-brainer for people that it wasn't. It really happened pretty fast. Once I made contact with Californians for Safety and Justice in 2014. It was April of 2014. I was looking for activities that my girls and I could participate in for Crime Victims' Rights Week. And that was when I met with them, floated my idea for the legislation, and the ball kind of started rolling. They liked the idea. They connected me with their lobbyist. And then we started searching for an author. Finding the author was the lengthiest process.
So how
Getting
did you
someone
find that?
to commit. We kind of had floated it to a few different people, and we really wanted Holly Mitchell to do it. She has a great reputation for authoring bills that have to do with children.
Holly Mitchell being from where?
She's, I think she's Ventura now.
Okay.
And
She's a state assemblyman.
she's a senator.
Assemblywoman. A state senator?
Yes.
She is a state senator?
Yes.
Okay.
So I was at the Capitol doing some other stuff for my professional life, and I kind of hunted her down. She was on her way to the bathroom in the hallway, and I stopped her in the hallway, introduced myself. She sent me in to talk to her legislative person that shops bills. I talked her ear off for half an hour, and a week later we got a call that they were going to author the bill. So some of it was just persistence, knocking on the door a lot. And
So you had to physically go down there?
well, I happened to be there for work. I probably wouldn't have.
Did you go to Ventura, or did you go up to
No,
Sacramento?
I was at the Capitol.
At the state Capitol. So you went to her office in the Capitol to pound on the door,
I
basically.
I did. I happened to. I had seen her pictures, and I saw her walking down the hallway, and I stopped her.
Okay.
So, but once it was authored, then it really got kind of. Then the ball really rolled quickly. It started going into hearings, and the hearing that we showed earlier was the Public Safety Committee hearing. That was the very first one, the one I testified at, and the other two I wasn't able to go up to testify for, but this was unanimous. 2 people signed on as co-authors.
There you are right there.
There was only one person, one opposition, and that was the Public Defender's Office, of course, and 2 of the senators sitting up there totally shot down the reason for the opposition. I mean, it was a really great feeling to know that I wasn't the only one who felt like it was ridiculous to ask her to do what she was being asked to do.
So what did you talk about? What did you tell these state lawmakers here?
I told my story, and then I explained why this bill was so important. I explained that when we talk about defendants having a right to face their accusers, when the Constitution was written, our forefathers never would have thought that accuser would be a 7-year-old child, because we protected them better then. We never would have put a 7-year-old on the stand back then.
Yeah.
And so we have to revamp these things for kids. So, we're not about re-traumatizing crime victims. And that's essentially what my children were.
Yeah. And how long did you testify? How long was the speech that you gave?
They give you 3 minutes. I think I might have gone a little over, but no one was going to cut me off at that point. But you get 3 minutes to speak. So it's not.
And how much of an impact did your speech have?
It seemed to have a lot of impact. There were a couple of people that were emotional. A lot of them thanked me for being there. And they all said it's really important that the stories that are behind the bills show up. The reasons that this legislation comes into play are presented to them, because a lot of times it's just words on paper without the background for why this stuff comes up.
Yeah. Well, and when did you testify here?
This is April 7th, 2015.
Okay, April 7th, 2015, and so apparently it did make a difference, because just a few short months later, Governor Jerry Brown did sign the Child Witness Protection Act into law. And so what does this allow children to do now besides having to face their accuser? So now, explain this law. Does this law mean that if my child is 13 or younger, that they won't have to testify face-to-face with an accuser in court? Is that what that means?
If they're a witness or a victim of a violent crime, they will not have to testify in a courtroom. They can use closed-circuit television, or if for some reason that's not an available technology, which it should be in most places, because this is already a law for sexual assault victims. So this was really just just adding an additional population to an already in place law. We're already doing this for sexual assault victims. So really the courtroom should already have the equipment to do the closed circuit television. But if they don't, then they're able to do it by other means, whether that's a recording that they do and the lawyers are present and they do it in another location. But so they're able to do it with closed circuit television, which still allows for the interaction between the child and the attorney without
live. They can do it
live. They can do it live.
Okay,
but without
the
child having to see the accused.
Okay, so the accused will never see the child. The child will never see the accused.
The accused can see the child on the screen.
Oh, okay.
Child cannot see the accused.
Okay, and doesn't have to be near him or her.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so there are other ways if a video's closed circuit, live circuit feed is not available, such as a tape version.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there would be other ways to do that. I know in Fresno years ago when we had sexual assault victims, there was a place down in the Tower District where they did, or there was a one-way screen, one-way mirror where they could do it and they'd record the testimonies before we had the equipment at the courthouse. So there are other ways to do it in communities that don't have the equipment. But there really isn't any reason that nobody should have the equipment because this has been in place for a really long time.
Yeah. Okay, we're talking with Jody Ketcheside here, and she was able to help get this law passed. It's called the Child Witness Protection Act. It's SB 176. It was signed by Governor Jerry Brown back in August. 436 MeTV option 11. If you have any questions or comments about this and much more. And when we come back, we may even change topics here with Jody in just a moment after this for affordable walk-in bathtubs.
Tune in to Heartland for the best in true country music. Relive vintage specials, one-of-a-kind concerts, and country music's earliest videos. Heartland is the heart of country, the only place where you can find country music, country stars, and country lifestyles 24/7. Heartland, the heart of country.
Now on channel 13.2.
Right now, financing is available that can make your payment as low as $150 a month. Call for details or go online, affordablewalkinbathtubs.net. Take your first step towards safety, security, and feeling better with an affordable walk-in bathtub.
I would highly recommend affordable walk-in tubs for anyone who's looking to get the quality of their life back.
This is Tough TV, Tough Sports, Tough Lifestyle, Tough Drama, Tough Reality, Tough Talk, Tough Specials, Tough Movies, Tough TV.
Now on KBHF 4.2.
Are you tough enough?
It's Sully and Russ on the Big Biz Show. It's your biz.
And maybe they'll start listening to Baldwin McCullough.
Now, before you make any money moves, check in with the Brain Trust.
And you are starting your week off right.
Biz TV is now on KBHF channel 4.6.
Back here on the program with Jody Ketcheside, and so just a couple of final notes about this bill. You were obviously, were you asked to write this op-ed piece for the Bee, or did you volunteer to do it, or how'd that work out?
Well, Californians for Safety and Justice was the agency I was working with to help get it passed. And they asked me if I would be willing to do it, and of course I was.
What kind of response did you get from the piece in the Bee?
I was invited to a Rotary Club meeting to talk about the story. I did have some people reach out to me. Not a lot of. I didn't read the comments on it online. I tend to stay away from that stuff.
Right.
Some of the media that over the course of the 2 years, the comments were disturbing, so I tend to stay away from that stuff. Yeah.
In what way? Negative comments?
Yeah.
About you, your children, or your husband?
No, just about, justifications for why it happened. And sometimes people think, that what's in the media is not always fact. And most of the time, like
That's
the
true.
whole affair thing really got held on to before it was discredited. And so people.
What about Holly
thought that-
Mitchell, Democrat out of Los Angeles? Have you that she sponsored the bill, authored the bill? Have you been in contact with her at all since the bill was signed?
Since it was signed, no.
No. So you've kind of lost contact with her then.
Sort of. I mean, I imagine I will see her. There's a conference next month that I'm going to, so I'll probably see her there. She's busy.
Yeah, and you're busy, obviously.
Yeah, we follow each other on Facebook.
Okay. All right. Okay. So you have your day job is actually you're the board chair for the Fresno Madera Continuum of Care. Exactly what is that, and explain that. We'll get into that in just a few moments here with some other video. Go ahead, Jody.
The Fresno Madera Continuum of Care is a member organization, and we're made up of agencies that provide services to the homeless.
Okay. Now, they recently did a homeless count, right?
Yes.
Here in the city of Fresno. Do we know the results of that?
We'll be releasing those in May.
In May. So do you,
We're still
do you
tabulating data.
suspect that the numbers are down?
I'm not sure. I suspect that we dispatched so many more volunteers this year that I suspect that we may have gotten one of the most accurate counts we've ever received. So it may be, the count may actually be up a little bit.
Okay, yesterday we had a mayor's debate over at Pardini's restaurant. It was sponsored by CB Observer, and it was carried by Power Talk 96.7. And let's show the three people that are running for mayor and a fourth one that just jumped in the race. That's H. Spees, the former pastor at Northwest Church. Henry Perea Sr., he's a current Fresno County supervisor, former city councilman. And there was Lee Brand. He is a current city councilman in District Number 6. Also jumping in the fray yesterday was Doug Vagan, who held a news conference over at the Water Tower saying that he wants in. But this debate yesterday at Pardini's, they had three giant podiums there, and they could have put a fourth one up. Doug wanted and asked to be a part of that debate, but they shut him out. And so his voice should be heard. I don't know what you think about that, Jody, but Doug Vagan has played a major role in this community with Measure G and with Measure W, trying to hold the water rates down when the mayor and others at City Hall were trying to shove those high rates down our throats to build a water treatment plant over on the east side of town. They called it the Sprawl to McCall. So you were at the debate yesterday. They did talk about this water treatment plant here and other issues. One of those issues was the homeless. Were you satisfied, based on your position here, on what you heard about the homeless situation here in Fresno? And did they have any solutions in your mind?
To be honest, I was kind of surprised because I really have been super open-minded about this race, and I haven't settled on a candidate yet. I just kind of want to hear where everybody's at with everything. And
but were you satisfied?
Henry Perea was really the one that said the what made the most sense with regard to homelessness and how people should be treated. I had a real problem with some of HSB's
well, wait a second.
solutions.
Stop there. Stop there. Stop there. Leave that picture up there. Don't jump the gun. Henry Perea said what that inspired you? We're talking about Henry Perea.
Well, and I've met with Henry Perea in the past about homelessness issues, and really recently he did a homeless summit. And what I liked about what he said was that he referenced a lot of what we told him in that summit. He retained it.
Like what?
Like when we talk to him about people don't go, I'm going to grow up and be homeless. No one aspires to be homeless. People don't necessarily say they don't want services because they don't really want services, that it can be a pride issue sometimes. There was a a whole conversation we had with him about why people become homeless and the difference between homelessness and vagrancy. Just a few weeks ago, he did a homeless summit. And so I feel like he's done the most preparation for being able to tackle the issue. None of the other candidates have reached out to the continuum of care. So, I mean, I like that about his campaign so far.
Yeah, okay. Now, what disturbed you about what 8 Spees said? Go ahead. Don't be bashful.
The registration issue for panhandlers and them proving that they have access to a toilet. I thought that was a very bizarre statement. Do you remember?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
I even tweeted it.
I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure what that means. Do you?
No. Well, when you
What does that mean?
when you talk about registering someone, and I'm sure that you go to the same place, but when you talk about a registration, I mean, we register.
You want to register somebody and make sure they have a toilet so they can go to the restroom?
So they're not using the street, I guess. I don't know, but it just seems weird. Like we're going to register them like we register sex offenders. Is that what he's saying? I don't understand.
I don't know.
Like they have to
but
pick a corner and they can't ever leave?
Yeah, that was kind of a quirky answer. Did you hear anything that was earth-shaking from Lee Brand, or pretty generic and bland?
He seemed pretty educated. I did appreciate, I mean, he knew who the sergeant was on the homeless task force. He knew about Map Point, the coordinated entry hub that the Fresno Madera Continuum of Care put together. I mean, he did know those things, and so I felt like, well, he was educated.
Well, you know, Perea said something else about the homeless, and let's roll a videotape, my friends, and we will show you some homeless video here. People on the streets, of course, the encampments have been banned, but here's what Perea said basically, and I found this kind of interesting.
We got to get you some new video.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's okay. That is old video, but that's okay. It kind of shows what the homeless encampments were like, not very far away from Ventura TV. But here's what Perea said, and I forgot the city that he mentioned. There was a mayor there that he talked to, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And he basically said, look, in this city, they offer the homeless, they go around every day and they offer the homeless, and they offer them a meal, they offer them a job. And if any homeless person turns it down, then they go to jail. And he goes, that's what we want to do here in Fresno. You remember when Perea said that?
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that stuck with you? Does that kind of?
Well, I don't agree with it. I don't believe in criminalizing the homeless. I don't believe that homelessness is against the law.
No, but don't you agree they have to help themselves? When you offer somebody something to help themselves, if they don't take it, we can't leave you on the street. You got to go somewhere. Let's go.
I agree that we all have to help ourselves, but I also know that unemployment is also not against the law. Like, you can't hold somebody to laws that don't exist simply because they're homeless. You know, I could lose my job today and no one's going to put me in jail for that.
Yeah.
So, I think that you're railroading a population of people into criminalization when you make rules like that. And plus, can we afford that? I don't know. The jail's full. I mean, we just had a whole 30-minute conversation about a guy who killed someone who's going to prison for 12 years because there's no freaking room.
Right.
So, you know, because there's no funds to run trials for people, because plea bargains are the way to go to save money, right? So we're going to put homeless people in jail because they didn't accept a side job for a day? Doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
Put the money into the housing. We'll house them. Give us the resources to house them, and we'll house them, and then they won't be on the street.
Yeah, but Jody, I mean, I have to beg to differ with you. Put them in housing. Who's going to pay for that housing?
We have funds to pay for that housing. Do we need additional funds to house every single one of them? Yes.
Why can't we get them jobs so they can help themselves?
Well, and that's where the case management piece comes into. You don't just walk up to somebody on the street and expect them to trust you that the job is even real. Someone walks up to me now.
But it's not going to be offered if it's not real.
If someone walks up to me, how many pyramid schemes have you been offered?
I'm talking about the government. I'm not talking about private industry. I'm talking about the government going around, government agency like a police department or some other agency that might exist to say, look, we have a job for you. Do you want to help yourself out of this situation? Yes or no? I mean, I don't see anything wrong with that. I don't see a negative in that.
There's no negative in it, and those of them that can do it, great. But there is so much substance abuse and so much mental illness on the street that those issues have to be addressed before a lot of them can even hold jobs. And so it's set up. You've got to have the case management piece in place to link them to services so they can address those issues. There are some that are on the street that you could do that with, and that they would be successful.
It's a difficult issue because you know what? There are a lot of people that are going to say, you know what? I don't want any more of my tax dollars taken out of my paycheck to pay for some homeless guy to live in some housing unit because they're taking enough out of my check. And you're going to get that. Is that a legitimate gripe?
I mean, it's the homeless funds are being reduced all the time, so.
Right.
I mean, there's less and less of your tax dollars coming out to house the homeless and more of them to put them in jail, so.
Right. All right.
I mean, it's sort of that, like, which hand is the rock in? Like, what do you want to pay for? Do you want to pay for improving the quality of somebody's life, or do you want to pay for making it?
No, but there are those that out there say, look, how much of my dollar do you want? You're already taking enough, and what are you doing with the money that you're taking now? Why should I pay for more?
Right, we have an 86% retention rate when we place someone into housing.
Yeah, but you're going to get those and say, look, I work for a living. I put in my time. Why should I take my money and give it to somebody else so they can live for free?
Well, and they don't live for free, and that's the misconception. That's where people get confused. They don't live for free. If we get people who come in with a disability that are on Social Security because they're disabled, and most of our housing programs, you have to have a documented disability to simply live there.
Yeah.
They come in with a disability and they're on Social Security, 30% of that income goes back into the program to help pay for it.
All right. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air.
Yes, thank you. I just want to make a little comment for clarification of what Perea was saying. I understood him to say that they would be approaching people who were panhandling and ask them if they would like a job, and if they refused the job, then actions would be taken. That was it. I just wanted to say that was my.
Is that how you understood it? Because I understood it to be not only panhandlers, but the homeless.
Yeah, I understood it to be the panhandlers. Maybe because that's really my huge concern, and I just zeroed in on that. And I thought, that's really good.
But are you certain? Are you certain that he zeroed in on panhandlers when he was talking about that?
I know. Yeah, he did mention panhandlers, and I thought it was for panhandlers. I just did not get the impression that they would be going around approaching homeless people, but it would be basically mostly for panhandlers.
But I didn't get that impression because those are two separate questions. They asked about vagrancy, the difference between vagrancy and homelessness, and then there was a separate question about
there was a mention of a person who had been arrested.
Yeah.
For something, I don't know what it was now. But anyway, he had been panhandling, and he had something like $1,800 or $1,300 in his pocket, and I knew that was brought into it. So anyway, that's what stuck with me.
And
that was it. That was all I had to say.
And
you got it. Thank you.
That's definitely possible because they are two different populations. Like when we go out to do surveys or we go out to do the count and we ask a panhandler if they're homeless, a lot of times they tell they're not.
When actually they are.
They have a place to live.
Yeah.
They're not homeless.
Yeah.
So they are two different populations.
Yeah, and there's a difference, and it was outlined yesterday, of course, in the debate when it was asked, what was the difference between vagrancy and homelessness. So that issue came up too. So 436-MeTV option 11. We're back after this from Affordable Walk-In Bathtubs.
Safety never felt so good as your very own affordable walk-in bathtub. The Central Valley's exclusive walk-in tub dealer. An affordable walk-in bathtub allows you to enjoy bathing again without the fear of falling. Tubs come in many sizes and all can be customized to meet specific needs. Boca tubs offer the lowest step-in possible. Ella features luxury and design excellence, and independent home tubs are low noise.
Having an affordable walk-in tub has improved the ability for me to move around easier during the day, and getting in my tub at least twice a week has done wonders with my muscles.
Right now, financing is available that can make your payment as low as $150 a month. Call for details or go online, affordablewalkinbathtubs.net. Take your first step towards safety, security, and feeling better with an affordable walk-in bathtub.
I would highly recommend affordable walk-in tubs for anyone who's looking to get the quality of their life back.
All right, caller, you're on the air with Jody Ketcheside. Go ahead.
Yes, I have a solution Fresno or the Valley need to do. Like they did in the 80s and the 90s from other states. They shipped them over here for finding a job. Why don't we just ship them all back out of the state?
Okay, let's ship them all out of the state.
That doesn't solve anything for anybody.
Okay.
It doesn't. That doesn't solve anything for the homeless person. They just go someplace else and be homeless, and it doesn't solve anything. I mean, we're talking about federal dollars, so I mean, the majority of the dollars that fund these programs are federal. So if you want to, I mean, you're not talking about solving anything for the taxpayers, for the homeless person, or anybody else by moving the problem around.
All right. Earlier, we had a good question here about one of the comments that you made about the 86% retention rate once you get some of these people into housing. What does that mean exactly?
It means that Fresno has a system. We have a good enough system in place that when we put someone in housing, 86% of them stay and improve. So when someone, in order to maintain their housing,
what happens to that other 14%?
The other 14%, it could be a variety of things. When we do a discharge, it could be that they've fallen back into homelessness, and we've got to try again.
All right.
It could mean that they pass away. Sometimes when we house someone who's been out there a long time, we house them and they're sick, and so sometimes they do pass away. Sometimes they're hospitalized. We do deal with a lot of mental illness, so sometimes we have people who are conserved afterwards. You know, we get them into housing, and then we get them tapped into services, and they find that they need to be conserved. So there's a lot of different ways that someone can be discharged that wouldn't be considered maintaining permanent housing. But 86% of them stay in permanent housing. And when we report outcomes, we're reporting people who maintain housing and people who maintain or increase their income. And HUD holds us to a 65% standard of that.
Yeah. Well, it's an issue that's not going to go away, and it's an issue that I guarantee you don't have the answer for. Nobody has the answer for right now, because if somebody did, we wouldn't have this homeless problem right now. It's an ongoing issue that's been around for years and years and years. And hasten to say that, these politicians, they get up there, whether they're running for mayor or council, whatever else, don't say they're going to solve the homeless issue, because that's just a crock, don't you think? They're not going to solve it quickly in 10 seconds. I don't want to hear that they're going to solve it.
It can be drastically reduced.
Manageable.
It can be drastically reduced and addressed much quicker so that we don't have the chronic homeless problem.
Good deal. I agree with that. Okay, I can live with that. All right.
That way no one stays out for too long.
Okay. Jody, it's always good to see you.
Good to see you.
I'm glad I saw you at the debate yesterday, so keep on it. And thanks for your courage and standing up for your kids. I'm really admire that about you very, very much.
Thanks.
So thank you for your time. All right, Jody Ketcheside here, and the Child Witness Protection Act, and talking about homelessness today. Tomorrow's Saturday, and then Sunday, and then we're back on Monday with a taped edition with John Gibson of the Fox News radio channel, talking about the presidential race. See you then. Have a great weekend.
Safety never felt so good as your very own affordable walk-in bathtub. The Central Valley's exclusive walk-in tub dealer. An affordable walk-in bathtub allows you to enjoy bathing again without the fear of falling. Tubs come in many sizes and all can be customized to meet specific needs. Boca tubs offer the lowest step-in possible. Ella features luxury and design excellence, and independent home tubs are low noise.
Having an affordable walk-in tub has improved the ability for me to move around easier during the day, and getting in my tub at least twice a week has done wonders with my